How's everybody doing today? Good? Awesome. So I kind of wanted to talk about my favorite species of snakes, and that's going to kind of channel into the whole YouTube and podcast thing. I was born in Jacksonville, Florida. That's where I've lived up until about 5 years ago. In Florida, I grew up catching snakes, catching turtles. In fact, my first exposure to reptiles was catching a lot of native species of colubrid snakes back in Florida. Jacksonville, if you don't know, is on the northeastern corner. I also used to catch a lot of turtles and whatnot, and I always kind of tell the story, but when I was in junior high school, our bus stop was at a park, and there was two big ponds, and it was pretty common for me to show up at my doorstep when I should have been on the bus, just drenched with either a cottonmouth or big species of cooters or big turtles. So my mom used to just kind of be like, well, you know, I guess there are worse things you could be doing at this age, so, you know, just take a shower and I'll get you to school. So I came out here, my wife, Marissa, I have 3 daughters. You know, I'm outnumbered in the house. I grew up around music. I play the drums and guitar. My dad was a drummer. I grew up around saltwater, so if I wasn't, you know, looking for snakes or whatnot, I was surfing, because Jacksonville's kind of on the beach. Love tacos, and I'm a huge Jaguars fan, like the biggest Jaguars fan you'll ever meet. So I don't know if any of you guys are into NFL, but I'm a major Jaguars fan, and we're going to the Super Bowl. My company is Godbolt Exotics. My main things that I specialize in are Amazon tree boas, Brazilian rainbow boas, emerald tree boas, Papuan carpet pythons, otherwise known as Irian jayas, Woma pythons, and I also work with a small group of crested geckos, ornate wood turtles, blood pythons, and yellowtail crebos. I have a really soft spot for Corallus. I lived in the Amazon of Brazil for a couple years, and when I was down there in Brazil, that's kind of where I just really fell in love with these different types of snakes. I had no idea that stuff existed. Anything that comes from the Amazon basin region, I just really gravitate to it. Amazon tree boas, Corallus hortulanus. So they used to call them the poor man's tree boa, but they have actually, with selective breeding, become a little bit higher in price. They are just a very cool species of snake, and they cover the entire gambit of prices. So you have a lot of stuff that's not all that expensive, and then you have some that are very expensive. Amazon tree boas have a bad rap for being super bitey, very nervous. One of my biggest things with Amazons that I try to tell people is that it's all in how you work with them. You know, like any species, if you're gonna be really nervous, if you're gonna be careless, then the animal's gonna react to that. You know, you don't wanna take them and drape them around your kids' necks or whatnot, but they are not the aggressive, bitey animal that people have made them out to be. In fact, they're the exact opposite. Now, that being said, I found them to be very sensitive to visual stimuli. We're still in the infancy when it comes to learning the inheritance of a lot of the morphs out there. It's not quite as cut and dry as you might think. Right here, there's a lot of white, and if I take him out, you can see he's got a lot of white that kind of creeps up his sides. A lot of breeders have tried to work with Amazons. They've tried to breed tried to produce a yellow calico or an orange calico. So if you see a calico animal, it's probably 9 out of 10 is going to be a red animal. It could be red patternless, meaning there's no black, or it could have different variations of black. Now the tiger, that can be in any color. There are tigers that don't have a black stripe. They might just see, if you can see the orange there, maybe they just have an orange stripe. As you can tell, the leopards, the spots on the side, and that typically is connected to the allele that controls the color for brown. The hypo is just a patternless Amazon tree boa. They're usually yellow. I've seen a couple representations where they've been orange. Show it as well. When I got her as a baby, she was kind of purple. And this big girl right here is in this tub, and that's Sunshine. They're rainforest animals, so if you want to, you know, keep them, obviously keeping them on the drier side is not the way to go. One thing I found with Amazon tree boas is they're probably the most tolerant Corallus species of keeper error. They're a draping animal, so If you were to buy your first Amazon and you were to put a horizontal perch with 2 points of contact in that tub, the animal's going to be grounded most of the time. They're going to want to drape over multiple things. They all are going to ground themselves sometimes too. So I have animals that, 50% of the time they're going to be coiled up underneath a little piece of cork bark. Sometimes they're going to be up around some tree cover. Nocturnal, so at night they're going to do all their hunting. That's kind of the S-curve that people associate with Amazons. That's their hunting posture. So if I open the tub up, they're going to say hi. They do have long teeth too, because I think that they feed pretty heavily on birds in the wild. Of that tail could be supporting the entire body weight, and it could just be coiled down, and you may think that you're kind of out of the strike range, but they prove you wrong pretty quick. I have had Amazons regurge on me because I fed them too large of a prey item. I look at it like me. If I was to eat 3 small meals during the day and then versus eating one huge meal and totally gorge myself, I'm probably gonna feel a little bit better and be able to digest the smaller meals. Well, I think that they're the same way. After a few days, they're gonna be out moving around, they're gonna be getting, exercise, they're gonna be, climbing. And to me, I feel like that's healthier behavior than an animal that just sits coiled in the corner. One thing I wanted to talk about is, in captivity, they're super easy to establish, even with wild caughts. If you are to buy a wild caught, anyone that's been to a show, you just, walk down a table and there are plenty of them. I would suggest, running a fecal and taking it to a vet. And I'm kind of against shotgunning animals. I understand there's a lot of people that seem to know what to do in that regard, but I'd rather take it to a vet and have them do it and make sure I know what's being looked at through a microscope. Even a 5-foot Amazon is going to be so slender that you don't have to, you take a 5-foot retic or a 5-foot, Macklot's python and compare it to a Amazon tree boa of the same length. Those pythons are going to need a larger cage than an Amazon would. They're just very, very slender for I want. So tubs it is, and that seems to work really well. And I also use like a coconut husk. I don't use the fine stuff that comes in a brick. It does really well, and sometimes I mist. Sometimes I'll take a cup of water and I'll just pour it on the bottom, and it kind of, keeps the humidity pretty high. And animals do really fine when it comes to shedding. Show a drop and everything like that in the summertime, then I say do it, because you could probably get them to breed. You see breeding later in the spring. On the East Coast, I see guys that are getting litters around January, February. You may get some stillborns in there. You may get some slugs. If she slugs out, or if there are slugs, leave them in there for overnight and she'll probably eat them. That's, really cool to witness, because that animal is using so many resources within her body to produce those babies and give birth to them, putting those resources back into her if they're not going to be used.
You work with IJ carpets. I was wondering if you could compare the Amazons to the temperament of the IJs. Are they similar?
No. Irian are animals I would let my kids hold. I would not put one of these around any of my kids. Out there that a lot of folks keep, but I just was thinking, there's a lot of really cool animals out there that folks don't really even know exist, or they don't know that they're as available as they are. The more I put the word out there about somebody starting a podcast, the more everybody came back and said, hey, you should start the podcast. I'm not an expert, I don't feel like, but I have worked with them for over a decade, and I have had a decent amount of experience with them. So I thought, okay, that's cool, I'll do it. I really thought there was a void, and it's something that I really wanted to kind of tap into. I felt like there was a lot of breeders out there that had ample experience with these animals, and so I wanted to make sure to kind of debunk a lot of that and to put more information out there for other people to get involved with these animals, which I think they're just awesome. I thought, it would be kind of fun to start doing videos. There's a few folks that I have enjoyed watching their YouTube channels. I also wanted to be able to cover other people's collections and show other people animals that I don't know a lot about. it's been really fun. You know, it's been a total labor of love. Obviously, I'm not making an income for this. I'm an appraiser, so I have a day job, but it's something that has giving me it. I started it as kind of a joke, believe it or not. I just thought, you know, I'll do like an episode or two. I'll get a bunch of, you know, shit from my friends, and that'll be it. And then people started like really liking it and saying, hey, when's the next one coming out? And so we try to put an episode out every Friday. Sometimes they roll over to Saturday. YouTube is kind of where it's at. You know, it used to be when you watch Discovery Channel or you watch Animal Planet or something like that, you could get pretty good information off of that. You know, I remember as a kid, I'd watch that the shows that would come on, and I'd learn quite a bit. And unfortunately, it just isn't the case anymore. You're going to get your most accurate information from just the normal average Joe that has species of animals in his collection. He's put in the work, and he's doing it behind closed doors for free. Main thing through Godbold Exotics is I'm all about conservation through education and propagation. The more we produce animals in captivity, the more we will take pressure off of animals in the wild. Obviously, I'm passionate about reptiles, so I want to spread that. I want to educate people, you know, obviously tell people what's going on with my collection and bring others into the hobby. That's pretty much why I got into to doing the YouTube channel.
What were you doing in the Amazon?
I was actually down there from my church. So I went down there from March of 2000 to March of 2002. And I didn't speak any Portuguese when I went down there, but it was all in Brazil. Got off the airplane, I was like, this place is like hell. It's so hot. The more I was there, the more I fell in love with the people. And I obviously, I learned how to communicate really well with them. And obviously the fauna and everything that lives down there, it's just, I remember one day we were walking through the street, and it was, I mean, there was like houses everywhere, and there was this little pathway with some trees, and there was a fence right along the sidewalk, and there was a sloth that was just kind of chilling like right there on the fence. I mean, it's just, you know, we see, you know, squirrels and stuff that have been hit by cars. I would see like 7-8 foot red-tailed boas that had been hit by cars down there. It's just a different world.
Did you happen to cross any wild corrals while you were down there?
Yeah, I saw one Amazon tree boa. Lots of inverts. Came home one day and we had vampire bats that were like in our sink. I was like wrapping my hand with towels because I didn't know what to do with them and trying to like take them outside. But yeah, lots of wildlife down there.
In the wild, do these things eat bats?
I would say they would eat anything that comes, yeah, anything that comes within their path. A bat's like a perfect size meal for them, so.
Aren't Amazons one of the species that you can tell by the length of the tail too, or like the scale count?
Yeah, so I can tell. A lot of people that have been working with them, I think for a decent amount of time can tell. I had a guy sell me a couple females, but I took them out of the box and could look at the head and the tails. I knew they were males, and then I probed them, and sure enough, they were both males. So.
I was wondering about the leucistic ones.
Uh-huh.
So, have you ever seen one in person? Because I feel like they're super rare. Like, do they die or something? Like,
No.
how come they're so rare?
Well, they're about they're about 3,000 to 4,000 a piece. So most people that have them don't want to bring them to a show or anything like that. They don't want to I don't even want to bring any of my animals to like reptile shows because I'm terrified of coming back with mites or whatever. So I would just imagine they're so valuable that people don't want to bring them out. Thanks.